Sales of Bachmann's Class 411 EMU have definitely been hampered by the excessively high price tag, and despite my own personal interest in this model, I just couldn't justify the asking price. With the model now available at anything from a 40 to 50% discount, it's time to take a closer look. Hi, thanks for joining today's review. We'll kick off with the normal unboxing of the 4-car set, and after that we'll do a quick look at adding DCC to the model. We'll then get into our close-up views and our running session, and just at the end of the running session we'll take a look at the lighting. We'll then get into our normal summary, scoring and final recommendation. Okay, let's get underway. Okay, so you're joining me for this unboxing of this Class 411 4-car EMU set from Bachmann. So just for reference, it's the 31-427B and it's in the British Rail blue and grey livery. So let me take this guy out of the box. It's packaged in pretty well the same way as any of the other EMUs or DMUs from Bachmann. You get them to the four separate boxes for each of the individual components. So let's take all of these out, and we'll take out the documentation as well. So I've been interested in this set for a while, but it was just literally too expensive at its original asking price. So I kind of didn't bother with it, and it's only recently now that I've seen this at a reduced price, and it does seem to be available from a number of vendors at a reduced price that I've kind of purchased it. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is putting in the DCC into this, and it looks like it's got these blind lights on and off, interior lights on and off, so we'll check that out with the 21-pin decoder. Okay, so that's there, and there's always going to be a sequence in terms of how you put these together so that the lighting etc. works properly and that they're prototypical. So we'll follow that when we're doing the DCC edition. So let's take a quick look at the cars. So we've got 4 cars in total in the blue grey livery. Let me get the power car. Okay, this guy feels like a power car and it looks like one as well. I think there's a motor in there. So let's take this guy out of the box. It does feel substantial. Okay, so let's take this guy out. He really does look pretty good actually. This guy looks pretty nicely impressive. So let me just put him down here for a minute. This has got all the various interconnecting drawbars, which say carry this nice little bit of weight here. Now you can see, obviously, I guess, and I've seen this on some of the DMUs actually, where the motor is like right in front of you like this. It's in your face in the model and very visible to you. And I guess they've tried to put it into the guards area here so that it's less impactful. But it does stand out quite a bit actually. It does kind of intrude a little bit there. Particularly here, it looks on this side, it looks particularly bad. That said, the model in general looks really good. There's a very nice end piece there, and obviously you can change the numbering, is what the option that they're giving you there. And it's got a lot of detail on it. A lot of the pipework is on there, the connectors. Looks the wipers. Looks really good on horns, etc. And you've got a driver's area in there. It's a different colour, which is nice. You've got the kind of curtain effect on all the windows, and that's across all of the cars. Some nice bogie detail for the pickups. The electrical pickup, so that's nice. And the real electrical pickup should be on both bogies as it is, yeah, as you would expect it to be. So overall, this is a very nice looking power car or end car for this particular set. So it does look pretty good, and we'll be certainly keen to see this now when it gets on the track, how that performs. So let's put him to one side for a minute, and in no particular order. So let me just find where the end car, the other end of the EMU is, and I suspect this guy looks pretty well the same or very similar, albeit he's really light. So that's kind of the main difference here. mean, these are nicely detailed. They all look really good, and they've got a really nice level of quality feel to them. They're, you know, similar to a lot of the Bachmann products, and there's a very nice interior in them as well. You know, we've got the curtains, but you've got tables and seats and stuff in there. It would be maybe nice to add a few passengers. Again, you know, it's nice underbody work there, and nicely detailed on both sides, and a nice end. So this is the rear, so it's got a red on it. It's got the red marks. So again, you know, fantastic detail around the bulkhead there. I don't think it's got sprung buffers. No, it doesn't. They're fixed buffers. That's fine. But again, a very nice looking car, and we will do the usual close-ups on one of the end cars and one of the middle cars. So let's take out another. So this is taking a look at one of the middle cars now, and again, significantly lighter, obviously. And I guess it's going to be in the same sort of style. You know, again, you know, the really nice level of quality on all of this. It all feels and looks good. There's no missing pieces. There's nothing falling around the place or anything like that in the box. Again, a nice interior inside there. Simpler, obviously. Simpler gangways on this. But again, a nice rendering of this coach, and you've got the kind of corridor area there, the outside. See it pretty clearly. It's all rendered really well. I mean, this is a nice set, as I say, and I have been looking at these for quite a while, and I just really wasn't willing to take the plunge at the kind of £400 asking price. And I picked this one up for £224, I believe it was. Which, when you look at, given that there's lighting on all of these, they're effectively lighted coaches, and it's a running EMU, so it's an actual 4-car train basically. I think for £424 with this quality of coach is not bad at all. So I'll kind of leave it there for the unboxing. I think the first impressions, it's a really nice set, looks really good. I want to get a decoder into this guy, so I'll give you feedback later on how easy it was to do that. And then we'll get that run in and get it out on the track, and we'll kind of see how she fares. But so far so good. It looks like a really nice set. I'm interested to see the performance now, and I'm interested to see the lighting, and that'll be the two main things we'll look for. I say we'll do the normal close-ups on this now. Okay, let's move to the next part of the review. Okay, we're going to add a DCC decoder here, and this diagram just shows the various clips that are holding the main body to the frame. And there's a lot of them, so it takes a little bit of tricky work to get them out, but here we've got it out. Now you can see the lighting here on this car, which is the end car, obviously it's the driver car, and it's the same for the dummy car. It's got this reflective sheet across the top there and LEDs either side. Now I'll come back to this later on, because this actually creates an issue from a lighting perspective, and the lighting on this car is not up to the same standards as it is on the middle cars, and it's because they've kind of cut a corner here, I believe. So here, let's take a look at the actual model. You can see that the motor body area there, there's a big chunk of metal that's providing a lot of weight directly over the drive bogie, which is fine. You can see the light at the end there, the LED that's illuminating the kind of end. That'll be the headlight, and there's a similar one on the rear to give you the red light on the rear. You can see the seating there, which looks pretty nice. You could add passengers in there. Okay, so we're going to remove the 21-pin DCC dummy header that's installed here. So I'll just take this guy out. And there's enough room here for a full-size decoder. Obviously the decoder I'm going to install, which is an Imperium decoder, is very small, but you could fit a full sort of Locksound 4, Locksound 5 type decoder would fit in this area here, and there would be enough room to fit something like an iPhone speaker above it. We can probably fit a small Megabass speaker as well on top of the decoder. There should be enough room there to give you the sort of height clearance versus the body. So you can see it there. There's a bit of space there to fit a reasonable, one of the smaller Megabass speakers, for example, or say an iPhone type speaker in there if you want to add it. I'm really probably not going to put sound in this model, as it does sound pretty good on the track anyway. So we're done. We're all ready to go. We'll put the body back on. If you wanted to add a driver, now is the time to do it. So you don't have to take the body off again to add that. So we're done. Okay, so let's get into the close-up view. So we're at one of the end cars here, and you can see the lovely detail on the bogie there, which is the electrical pickup. Got the whole guards area there, which is again nicely detailed. Now you can see the engine block in behind the windows there. It's probably not too bad. It really mainly affects that first kind of passenger window. And then we're into, you can see the DCC header there, decoder. And then you've got the rest of the car, which looks fine with the tables and chairs, etc., and the curtains in the window and some of the stickers. So overall nice looking, but just that little bit of area at the front there, I suppose that was impacted by having the engine block. Now we're looking at one of the centre cars. I think you see that bit of foam there, that's just holding the car in place, because these are so free running. If you've any sort of slope at all, that they'll move. So we've got the corridor there, nice corridor, and again nice glazing, labelling on the glazing. There's not an awful lot on the underbody there, and that was a challenge obviously when they were installing the motor in the power end. But overall a nice car, and the two centre cars are pretty well equivalent to this. And we'll see all four of them here now, and you can see there is that extra detail under the front and rear cars, as they've got extra bogie detail, they've got extra underbody detail, and obviously at the bulkhead ends as well. You've got a lot of extra detail on both of those. You've got the driver's compartment, etc., and the whole guards area. But a very nice looking set. I think that's the point, and the quality of this set is very good. And I guess out of the box, no real issues with it. There was nothing, no pieces falling off, no problems at all. Again, as I say, you see those bits of foam holding the unpowered cars in place, because they'd be sliding all over the place if I didn't. They really are very free running, and I guess that reduces the load on the motor, which is no harm, given that it's just a single bogie drive in this particular car. So now we're going to get into the running session. And I guess my main comment on the running session is it was problem-free, and no problems with this. I've run it on radius 2, radius 3, radius 4, and not any problems. Things like express points, no issues, Hornby type points and diamonds, no problems. And it runs pretty smoothly, that's for sure. And even though it is only a single bogie drive, there is a lot of weight on that particular bogie, so that tends to give it good stability and good driving performance. There's no traction tyres in here, important to emphasise that. And this is a good running model. There's a little bit of stutteriness, I guess, at the extreme low end, and so it isn't quite a 10 out of 10, but it is very good, and it does still do a reasonable crawl. This is not up there with the typical, say, Bachmann locomotives that might be closer to 9.5, 10, or like an Acura scale locomotive would be better than this, but it's still really good for what it is, and it's more than adequate. I mean, this is only ever going to be drawing 4 cars. You might do a double header on it perhaps, but it is a very good performing model, considering the restrictions in terms of the drivetrain and obviously on the motor. So I don't have any qualms, and it is actually it creates a nice sound actually when it's running around the track. It meets its prototypical speed or exceeds it, so from a scale perspective, so no issues there. So this is a good performing model, no doubt about it. Bachmann do produce good performing DMUs and EMUs, and this is in that category for sure. And a very enjoyable running session, and I found it very nice on the track. I kind of did like running this around. And particularly if you've got smaller layouts, I think EMUs and DMUs like this are very handy, because you're not dealing with big, 8 or 9 car rakes, and they're very suitable, I think, for smaller layouts. So it makes them very attractive. Now you can see the lighting going through the tunnel there. You can probably see the difference in the lighting between the front and rear cars and the 2 middle cars, and we'll talk about that just for a minute. Okay, so here we've got a long exposure photograph of the front car and the rear car, and you can see the difference in the lighting. This really highlights it. Obviously I'm running on a long exposure here with the camera. It's a still photograph, but you can see there's a significant difference in the brightness in the middle car versus the front car, and that's all down to limitation in terms of the LEDs and the reflector that they're using in the end cars versus the LEDs that run all the way through the middle cars. And why they didn't do that in the end cars, I don't know. And it's created this, they're different, so that's one thing, that's one problem, and also they're quite dim. Well, the lighting in the middle cars isn't that fantastic either from a brightness perspective, but these are significantly dimmer. In normal light, you will not even know that the lights are on the rear cars, the front and rear car. So cut a corner here, and unfortunately it has been a compromise. I think that does compromise the model from this perspective. Just a shame. It's probably the main issue I actually have with this model, to be honest. Otherwise, it's a really nice model. So just to show it to you there, you'll have seen it in the running session as well, in kind of real time without the overexposure. And you'll just have seen how dim the lighting in the front and rear car actually is. The green and it looks very colourful actually, but the green in the driver area, that's because the kind of surrounding area in there is green. So it's coming out, and when you run a long exposure like this, it just exacerbates it a bit more, so it looks quite colourful. But yeah, just highlighting that particular issue, and we'll reflect that in the scoring in the end. Okay. Okay, so let's get into the summary. We've been looking at the Bachmann class 411 in the British Rail blue-grey livery. It is also available in the British Rail green livery, and there are weathered options for both the blue-grey and the green liveries. The test unit for today is the 31-427B, as I said, and that's the blue-grey pristine livery version. It comes 21-pin DCC ready, and the drive is all-wheel pickup with single bogie drive. That's, I suppose, unusual for a Bachmann model, but it does work quite well in this model, and I think the performance we'll talk about in the scoring next. The minimum radius 2 curves, and I did test it out on that and haven't seen any problems. Extra features, it does have separately controllable directional and coach lighting, and it also has an alternate numbered front bulkhead, so you can put an alternate number in there. Top scale speed was 117 miles per hour, drawing 210 milliamps at 100% power for the 4-car set, and that was using the default settings on the Imperium decoder that I used. The unboxed weight is 410 grams for the power car, so there's a bit of weight there, and most of that is all front loaded on the front bogie. 164 grams for the dummy car, which is probably around what you'd expect, and 154 grams for the centre cars, again more or less what you'd expect for such cars. The selling price for the DCC ready in pristine livery is anywhere between $203.96 all the way up to $419.95, which is the RRP that nobody liked. The weathered versions are more expensive, and so they run all the way up to $449.95. And there doesn't seem to be as good a discount on the weathered versions as there is on the pristine versions. And those prices are as of December 2022. So in terms of the scoring, I'm giving the running performance a 9 out of 10. In general, it was very, very good, and I was very pleased with it. And the only exception to that really is a little bit of stuttering, both starting and maybe slowing down. You may see a little bit I've seen a little bit of that in the running session, perhaps in the full running session. You might have seen it in the shortened version. But overall, still very pleased with the running performance of this model, and in general, it is very smooth. Appearance and detail, again, I'm giving a 9 out of 10. There's a little bit of a compromise on the appearance in the driving trailer because of the motor, which is clearly visible through the guard's windows and through the first passenger area window, and you also see the DCC decoder as well through the second passenger window. So that kind of takes a little bit from it, and the lighting discrepancy, I guess, the difference in lighting between the cars is the other thing that kind of impacts the appearance, the running appearance. Obviously, if you're not running with lighting, then it doesn't matter. But if you are, there's a notable difference there. There's nothing like light bleed or anything like that, so there's no problems like that with the lighting. It's just a little bit dim, and there's quite a difference between the front and rear cars and the centre cars. The extras and variants, as I mentioned, it is available in the green livery, and it is also available as a weathered option for this. The extras, I guess, it's missing a little bit. There's no sprung buffers, for example, which you might tend to see on a model of this sort of quality. has no fitted driver, and in general, Bachmann have kind of seemed to have stopped fitting drivers in their models these days, which is kind of a bit of a shame. And there isn't really an awful lot extra in the detailing kit. They do give you plenty of drawbars. They basically give you twice as many drawbars as you need. Sometimes you can get problems with the connections on those, so that is actually a positive and good to have that. And as I say, the lighting implementation, the front and rear directional lighting is fine, but the coach lighting has got its issues, as I mentioned, and they really needed to beef up the lighting in the front and rear cars. The overall packaging and build quality, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 because I didn't have any problems at all from a quality perspective. And given the weight of the cars here, the packaging I think is adequate. I think it's fine. So I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I don't have any reason to give it anything else. And let's say I didn't see any sort of loose parts or anything like that in the boxes. Price value overall is a 10 out of 10 at the level, the reduced discounted level. Now, if you pay the full RRP, then it's absolutely nowhere near a 10 out of 10. It's probably closer to something like a 2 out of 10. But at the discounted level, I'm saying this really is a 10 out of 10. And you can even get this right down to like nearly £200. And even cheaper if you go second hand. So you'll pick these models up even potentially for around 160, 150, 160 pounds second hand, which if you can get them at a good quality second hand model is an absolute bargain. Overall, it's a 9.2 out of 10, and if you exclude the price value, it's a 9 out of 10. And I think that's a good reflection of what this model is. It's a good quality model, a very nice rendition of this particular EMU class type. And whether you like to, and it does have a weathered option, so that's nice as well if you wanted to get this in a weathered form. And obviously, you've got the British Rail green as well. So let's get into our final recommendation. Bachmann's rendition of the British Rail Class 411 provides a well-detailed and enjoyable modelling experience. It's a pity that shortcuts were taken in the coach lighting implementation, but otherwise these models show excellent running performance and a high degree of quality. The original asking price for these models just didn't make sense, and thankfully they can now be acquired at a significant discount. At the discounted pricing, this excellent 4-car set represents some of the best 00 gauge value available today for the pristine version in particular, and is a very easy recommendation. Even if it might be a stretch to fit this model into your layout's regional and timeframe boundaries, it's definitely worth considering. So what are your thoughts on Bachmann's Class 411? And in particular, if you own one, please let us know in the comments how you have found it as a model. Thank you for joining today's review. Please like, share and subscribe if you found it of use. Hope to see you on the next one, and in the meantime, take care and happy modelling.